Hello YouTubers, now today we are talking about original PS3 fix. This is the PS3 with the four USB chargers there. It's the first gen PS3. And basically with this, what's happening is the CD won't go in. Now there's loads of videos online of people showing you how to fix CDs when they won't go in, but this is a slightly different problem. Most of them problems online, you can hear the motors but it won't accept the CD, so it's either the motor's stuck or it's offline or something like that. This, we haven't got that problem. There's no motor noise even happening. All that happens is you put the disc in, it will not go in, the blue light flashes, and that's it. It doesn't actually physically accept the disc in. You can't hear any noise, it won't, you can't shove the disc in and then let it play. You can't do anything. It's as if the CD-ROM drive has no power, but I've tested the CD-ROM drive and it has power. So if you have this problem, then this is your answer. But obviously you could have, this might not be your answer. It could just be a simple case of replacing your laser in your DVD Blu-ray drive. Right, so if you have this problem, this is 100% your problem. This is the underside of it. This is where obviously the heat sinks are. Now hopefully it'll come through. I don't know if you can see anything maybe particularly wrong with that board, but I'm going to zoom in and hopefully get this to focus. Right, is it going to focus? Focus. Focus. Now, hope that's focusing. I don't know if you can see there, but there's all burns. You can see it all looks burnt all around here. You can see all this charred mess here. And basically this little MOSFET just burns out. That's all it is, very simple. I actually wipe my finger across. Well, okay, maybe not. Sometimes you can just get that charred crap off. But it's just this MOSFET that we're replacing. Very simple to replace. They're very, very cheap. I have 10 here. They are small. It's longer getting to the actual stripping all this off. Now I've done videos on how to basically take apart your PS3, and there's loads of videos out there, but this is just a repair. And you can see these are little fellas. There's only one thing you have to be aware of. On the top corner, well, it depends which way you hold it, I'll show you, but basically there's a little, I have to be careful now I don't do any damage. Yeah, just pull this out. Hope this is going to show up on camera, but it might not show. Just see, you can see a little dot on the top. I'll just see where it is there now. It's there, so it's that where the blade is, just that corner there is a little dot. That's basically like a little arrow, and that has to be the right way, because basically if you put that the wrong way, it's not going to work, and the chip will go in two ways. Now the chip will go in two ways. It'll sit that way or 180 degrees, and it'll sit that way. Now you have to get that mark, that little cutout, that little dimple on the board right. And this one you can't really see because it's blown up, but that's basically where the little mark should be. So bear in mind that has to be right. But what I'm going to do first, now I'm just going to get a little bit of board cleaner, just squirt it on there, and my hog's hairbrush, just give it a bit of a clean. Now you can see all the burn marks have come off, which is obviously good, so we know we're okay there. Now again, you might not be able to see on camera, but basically when you're doing it, I can see the little dimple now. So we know basically the little dimple has to be near this silver jobby, and if it's the other way, it's going to be towards the end of the board, which is here. So we know it's fairly straightforward to get that right. Now this is where it becomes kind of, well, not so much tricky, but this is where you have to be careful, because we have to desolder this. There's loads of different ways of desoldering. You can use solder wick, which basically you'd put over heat up and it sucks the solder out. You can use a desucker, one of these fellas. But what I'm going to do is, and I've done a good few of these, and it normally works, but now I'm filming it, you can bet your life it won't. I'm going to heat that up and just pull the chip out. There should be enough solder there just to put the chip back down and heat it up, and it should be okay. What I'm going to use to heat the chip up is, on my soldering station I have a heat gun, and I can put different connections on. I'll show you that. But I have seen people on circuit boards using a heat gun, and believe it or not, it actually does work. But I have the heat gun on my soldering station, so I might as well use that. You'll see on my other repair videos I actually use the heat gun on this board, so you can get them quite hot, don't get me wrong, but you have to be careful. The little thing I have is basically going to just put heat just where I want it, because if you put heat in a big area you can loosen these other connections and these other little resistors and all sorts, which you don't obviously want to be doing. So I'm going to set up my heat gun, and we'll see if we can remove this quite easily. Now here's my heat gun, and basically the nozzle I'm going to be using is this. As you can see, it's square, and what this nozzle is designed to do, there's loads of different shapes. It's designed just to put heat in a certain area rather than trying to heat up a big area. This will just, I can sit this just over the chip, and it's just going to heat basically just around the chip to make my life a little bit easier, and obviously it also stops you damaging or desoldering other parts of the board you don't particularly want to, because the last thing you want to do is everything to be dropping off, because these things, there's a lot of little stuff around here and you don't really want to be taking it off, else it'll never work again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this on, heat this up around the air. I'm going to speed up on the video because there's no point you seeing it in real time. And once it's hot enough, I'm just going to literally put my tweezers over it, just like that, and just literally pull it away. As simple as that. Now it's off, as you can see. This is where it was. I can't really show you it because unfortunately it kind of blew up, and you see bits of it there. It kind of came off in two parts because it had blown up already, so we knew it wasn't going to come off clean. But what it has done, it's left one of the little legs on. You can't really see it on camera, but it's there. What you do have to be careful, you have to be patient. Don't try and rip it off when it's not hot enough, because you will lift up the little legs on the board, the actual pad, sorry, the little pad, and once you lifted up the pad from the board, well, the whole motherboard's gone. So be very careful and just take your time. I'm going to now I'm going to put the soldering iron on and just remove this little leg, and hopefully then we'll be ready to put. Now you can't see that, but the leg, I've just removed the leg off the actual board, and I'm just going to just tap the soldering iron on them just to make sure. Now, just like I thought, also we do have enough solder left on these little legs. I don't have to do any solder. You can, but I can clearly see that there's enough there. So basically what I'm going to do, it's kind of fiddly, but you've got your little chip here. Just place it down, make sure you got the chip the right way, like I was saying, with the little hollow, with the little dot on it. Plonk it down. Now, right about there. And basically, I've just got to now reheat it. So I'm just going to do the same thing again. Just make sure this is the heart. Now, we are bang on line there. So I'm going to reheat it and let the weight of the chip, once the solder heats up, the actual weight of the chip will sink down into the solder. I remove the gun, the heat gun, and that's it, absolutely soldered. If you use solder wick or anything like that, you'll have to resolder the points. That's why I don't tend to do it on something as small as this. There's millions of different ways than soldering it back, but I just find this is the easiest way, because you don't have to physically have to solder it. But you just want to make sure that each individual leg is on each individual pad, and it's going to solder properly, because if one of them legs isn't on, or if it doesn't solder right, obviously it's not going to work. Now this again is tricky, because you want to make sure it doesn't move. So same thing again. Getting my heat gun. Turn it on, let it heat up, and again, just be patient. You know, even if obviously you don't want to put too much heat on the board, but you've also got to be patient and don't expect it to work in seconds, because you will do damage. And I think I'm kind of blocking the camera as I'm doing this, but you'll get the idea from this little fella. You can't see it, but believe me, that is pumping out very hot air. Just let this cool down now, it's going to take a second. Now, that's turned off. Now, that's basically it. Now, it's done it. I haven't had to solder that. You can literally see, believe it or not, you can actually see the chip kind of sink down into the solder. Again, you want to be careful. Too much heat obviously is going to damage your chip. So, you know, it's some trial and error. Once you've done it a few times, you kind of get used to it. But don't overheat your board, simple as that. If you've got the right tools, always makes life that little bit easier. A soldering gun doesn't put as much heat onto the board, but it's more tricky, so it just really depends. And if you are going to use, obviously, this air gun like I have, you know, you've got adjustable heat, so you can actually make the heat, you know, higher or lower, which, you know, depending on your board, can make such a big difference. But that is it. That is now soldered on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this all back together. There's no point in me filming that. Once I put it all back together, we're going to see if it works, and fingers crossed, ps3 is working again. Sorted. My phone. One more thing I forgot to mention before I actually start putting this back together is no harm just to get a magnifying glass. I should have maybe done this first. You can actually see look at that, you can see that chip quite well now. No harm to get a magnifying glass and just have a look, just to make sure you have each of them legs soldered and they are soldered properly, because the last thing you want to do is put all this back together and realise you haven't. So just really double check, have a good look at this chip just to make sure. See if I can get it bigger. There we go. And just to make sure you have got this right, and then you can bang it all back together. And let's hope it works. Right, let's see if this works. I've obviously just haven't got the top on yet, but this was the one we replaced the little MOSFET on. I have it switched on, and I have a game. I'm just going to put it in and to see if it physically accepts it. Oh yes, straight in. Now, obviously that's now accepting it. I just want to make sure it ejects it. And what it was doing before is as if I just unplug this, which is the power for it, give you an idea. It was just doing that. You could push it in, it wouldn't do anything. It wasn't trying to drag it in, it wasn't trying to do anything. It just physically, as if it had no power. That's what it was doing. If you have this problem and you can hear the motors trying to drive it in, then this is not your problem. This is the problem if when you put it in, all that was happening was this blue light was flashing. If you can see the blue light over here, sorry, where is it? Oh, it's not going to show you now because it's not plugged in. But that, oh, it's not connected properly either. But anyway, there's a little blue light there that was flashing. That was basically this problem. So if you have that problem, that little MOSFET is your answer. Shove that in again just to make sure. And there we go. Bang. Straight in. Sorted. Look, hope it helps. Thumbs up and subscribe. And don't forget to get your hands dirty. See you for the next one.